Hello everybody, welcome to Daily News Simplified, the what, why and how of newspaper reading. Today we shall be analyzing the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper dated 29th of August 2018. Let's start. Now coming to the first article. This article has appeared on page number 13. This article is part of the business section of the Hindu newspaper. The title of the topic is EESL to get $300 million from the World Bank. Now why this article is in news is because recently World Bank has agreed to provide loans worth $300 million to India, and this loan is to be used for implementation of India Energy Efficiency Scale-up Program. Now coming to why this particular article is important from the exam perspective. In prelims, this article shall be part of the current affairs. In the mains, it shall be part of GS paper 3. Under the GS paper 3, it shall be part of the subsection of Indian economy and various issues. Further, this article is also important because in the prelims, normally questions have been asked with respect to the government schemes as well as institutions related to the power sector in India. It is in this context, let us look at some of the previous year UPSC prelims questions related to government schemes and institutions. For example, in the year 2015, there was a question which was asked with respect to Indian Renewable Energy Development Agency Limited, that is IREDA. Further, in 2016, there was a question related to government scheme known as Uday. It is in this context, this article becomes important. Now let us try to understand the flow of the video by looking at the list of topics which we shall be covering in this particular article. Firstly, we shall try to understand as to what do you actually mean by the concept of energy efficiency, and then we'll understand the significance of energy efficiency in the context of India. In the second topic, we shall be discussing about the details about India Energy Efficiency Scale-up Program, which happens to be the highlight of this particular article. Under this program, you need to know as to who is the implementation agency. Second, you are required to understand as to what are the key components of the program. And finally, about the significance of the program. And the last topic in this video shall be the details about EESL, that is Energy Efficiency Services Limited. Now, having understood the flow of the video, let us start with the first topic, that is energy efficiency and its significance. Energy efficiency means reducing the amount of energy which is supplied to various products such as bulbs, tube lights, ceiling fans, refrigerators, air conditioners, etc. Now there are different ways in which energy conservation can be done. For example, it can be done by replacing the incandescent bulbs by LED lights. Second, one can improve the building design so as to avoid usage of air conditioners, or one can use super efficient air conditioners as well as refrigerators. For example, usage of 5-starred ACs and refrigerator. These are some of the modes by which energy efficiency of various products can be improved upon. Now coming to the significance, here you need to understand as to why energy efficiency is extremely important from the Indian economic perspective. Now the first reason here is presently, according to Ministry of Power, 65% of electricity in India is mainly generated from fossil fuels such as crude oil, coal as well as natural gas. Now by improving the energy efficiency of the products in India, we shall be able to drastically reduce our emission of greenhouse gases. The second significance fact here is by ensuring energy efficiency of products in India, we will be able to avoid generation of additional electricity. It is in this particular context, energy efficiency becomes extremely significant from the Indian economic perspective. Now, having understood about the energy efficiency, that is its modes as well as significance, let's move to the next topic. Now coming to the details about India Energy Efficiency Scale-up Program, which happens to be the highlight of this particular article. This particular program is implemented by Energy Efficiency Services Limited. Further, let us now look at the key components of this particular program. The first component of this particular program is Ujala program. Now Ujala program stands for Unnat Jyoti, for affordable LEDs for all. Now as part of this program, the government is distributing LED tube lights as well as 5-star rated ceiling fans to the customers. Now the idea here is LED lights are much more efficient than the incandescent bulbs. So higher usage of LED lights will drastically reduce the energy consumption in India. Further, the second component of this particular program is Street Lighting National Program, which also stands for SLNP. Now the main objective of this particular program is replacement of conventional street lights by the LED lights. So here you need to understand that India Energy Efficiency Scale-up Program is implemented by Energy Efficiency Services Limited. You need to understand about the components of this particular program. Here you need to understand about the Ujala program as well as Street Lighting National Program. All these aspects are extremely important from the prelims perspective. Now coming to the significance of this particular program. Now according to Ministry of Power, this particular program would able to reduce the greenhouse gas emission of around 170 million tons of carbon dioxide. Further, the ministry has also stated that it will avoid capacity generation of 10,000 megawatt. Now these facts and figures are extremely important mainly for two reasons. The first reason being, as part of National Action Plan on Climate Change, the government has launched a mission known as National Mission on Enhanced Energy Efficiency. As part of this program, the government seeks to introduce energy efficiency measures in India. Here, the government has laid on a target to avoid additional electricity generation of around 19,000 megawatt. Now, why this becomes important here is, as you can see, the program seeks to reduce the electricity generation by almost 10,000 megawatt, which is approximately equal to the 50% of the target which is set under National Mission on Enhanced Energy Efficiency. Now second reason as to why this is important is because under the Paris Accord, India has come out with intended nationally determined contribution. As part of this INDC, India has fixed a target of reducing greenhouse gas emission by 33 to 35%. And hence adoption of energy efficiency measures would enable India to meet its INDC targets under the Paris Accord. Now as we have seen that UPSC normally asks question not only related to the government schemes, but it also asks questions related to government institutions. It is in this context, let us try to understand some brief details about Energy Efficiency Services Limited. Now this particular agency is a joint venture of 4 national level PSUs. These PSUs being NTPC, Power Finance Corporation, Rural Electricity Corporation as well as Power Grid. And this particular agency works under the Ministry of Power. Further, you are also required to understand about some major initiatives which are taken by Energy Efficiency Services Limited. Now these initiatives are Ujala, Street Lighting National Program, and the third one is Atal Jyoti Yojana. Now this program is also known as Ajay. This particular program ensures solar lighting in those areas where grid connectivity is less than 50%. And presently this program is mainly implemented in the 5 states. Now having understood various facets of this particular article, let us move to the next article. Now this article appears on page number 11. The title of the article is Government Scraps Scientific Panels and Forms the Council. Now this article is in news because the Government of India has recently decided to set up a new advisory panel which is known as Prime Minister's Science, Technology and Innovation Advisory Council. Now this topic shall be important from the prelims perspective under the concept of current affairs. In the mains, it shall be part of GS paper 3 under the subsection of science and technology. Further, this article is also important because Normally in UPSC prelims, questions have been asked with respect to new institutions which are being set up by the government. For instance, there was a question in the prelims 2017 with respect to the Quality Council of India. It is in this context you are required to understand about the new institution which has been set up by the government. Further, a question has also been asked in the UPSC Mains 2012. The question was, what is innovation, and discuss the need for innovation policy in India. Now coming to the details about the new advisory council. In the context of India, we had two different advisory councils. Now the role of these advisory councils was to provide policy inputs with respect to science and technological development in India. One of the advisory council was giving the policy inputs to the Prime Minister, whereas the other advisory council was providing the policy inputs to the Cabinet Secretariat. Now the government has decided to scrap both these advisory councils and replace these advisory councils by a single agency, and the name of this agency is Prime Minister's Science, Technology and Innovation Advisory Council. And according to government, this council shall consist of 21 members. Now let us look at the composition of this particular council. This council shall be headed by the principal scientific advisor to the government. Further, it shall have 9 permanent members. Apart from 9 permanent members, it shall also include 12 special invitees. Now, out of the 12 special invitees, 11 shall be ex officio secretaries of various government departments which are dealing with science, technology and innovation, such as health, education, atomic energy, etc. Further, there shall be one person who shall act as a special invitee. Such a person shall be from the industry or the private sector. Now let us try to understand as to why has the government decided to set up this particular new council. The need to set up this council can be understood by looking at the ecosystem which is needed for innovation in India. Now for innovation in India, we need the efforts of all concerned ministries and department. That is to say, there has to be a synergistic effort for bringing about innovation. However, in the present framework, there are two different scientific advisory councils. That is one which is reporting to the Prime Minister, and the second one which is reporting to the Cabinet Secretary. Now because of this, it was leading to overlapping. It is in this context the government has decided to set up a single agency in order to bring all the concerned ministries and departments on a single platform. Now the need to have synergistic effort can be understood by the fact that advancement in the science and technology in one particular field can be in turn used in the other field. For example, the advancement in the atomic energy, let's say with respect to nuclear medicine, can be in turn be used in the health sector. Further, advancement in space technology can be in turn used in the health sector as part of telemedicine. Also, it can be used even in the education sector. It is in this context there is need to have a single agency which brings about a synergistic effort among all the concerned ministries and departments. The other reason being poor input and output with respect to innovation in India. For instance, if one looks at the input which is needed for innovation in India, that is the expenditure on research and development. Now, according to the economic survey, India spends hardly around 0.7% of its GDP on innovation. Now, having this particular agency would enable India to identify the areas where the research and development expenditure would be needed. Thus, it would help India to increase its expenditure on research and development. The second reason being with respect to the output. Here, the output pertains to number of patents filed in India. Now, the number of patents filed in India is actually less. Now, the idea here is by having a single agency, India would be able to create a conducive ecosystem in order to promote innovation. Thus, the government's initiative to set up the new advisory council shall create a conducive ecosystem for innovation. Further, it shall try to also improve the input as well as output which is required for innovation in India. Now coming to the next article. This article appears on page number 1. The title of the article is Supreme Court finds the audit of child shelters frightening. Now why this article is important is because this happens to be one of the most burning issue in India right now. Because the recent ill treatment of the children in the shelter homes in UP and Bihar has left the nation stunned as well as shocked. These shelter homes were supposed to be warm and caring places so as to integrate the children who were in the conflict with the law into the society. However, the recent incidents has highlighted the utter disregard for the management of such homes. It is in this context this article is important from the exam perspective. Now this article is in news because Supreme Court in its earlier order had asked National Commission for Protection of Child Rights to submit the social audit report. Now the Supreme Court has expressed its grave concern over the social audit report which has been prepared by the Commission. Further, this topic shall also be important from the perspective of GS Paper 2. Under GS Paper 2, it shall be part of the subsection on government policies and interventions for development in various sectors and issues arising out of design and implementation. Further, from the prelims perspective, you are required to understand two important concepts from this particular article. The first one is with respect to National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. And the second one is with respect to Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection of Children Act 2015. The reason is UPSC sometimes asks questions related to the institutions as well as laws which have been in the news. For example, let's look at one of the prelims question. Now this question was asked in the UPSC prelims 2017. As you can see here, the question was with respect to prohibition of Benami Property Transaction Act 1988. Now this particular act was in news in the year 2017 because of demonetization. So since this particular act was related to current affairs, this question was asked in the prelims 2017. So from this particular article, you would be required to understand about Juvenile Justice Act. Apart from Juvenile Justice Act, you are also required to understand about National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. Now let us look at some of the important highlights of the social audit report which have been prepared by National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. The first highlight of the report is it has stated that out of 2,800 homes which were surveyed by this organization, only 54 institutions could be given positive reviews, which means only 54 institutions have been following the norms and provisions which have been laid down under the Juvenile Justice Act. Most of the other institutions have been violating the norms laid on in the Juvenile Justice Act. The second important fact which the report has highlighted is out of 185 shelter homes which have been audited, only 19 institutions have been maintaining all the necessary records which have been stipulated under the Juvenile Justice Act. It has also highlighted that certain essential information such as case histories of the children who are in the conflict with the law have not been maintained by the shelter homes. Now looking at this particular report, the Supreme Court has stated that the findings of this report are extremely frightening. Now what you have to understand is this social audit report which has been prepared by the National Commission of Protection of Child Rights Act is a preliminary social audit report. This particular organization is expected to submit the full report by the end of October 2018. So let's wait and watch the outcome of this particular report which will be released in the month of October. Now let us try to understand about the Juvenile Justice Act which has been in the news. Now this particular act has been formulated by the Parliament of India in order to cater to the children who are alleged or found to be in conflict with the law. Conflict in the law means it refers to anyone who is under the 18 and who comes into the contact with the judicial system. Such a person may be either accused or he may be even be a suspect. The idea of having a Juvenile Justice Act is to ensure that the juveniles are not treated on par with the grown-up adults. Further, it seeks to create a conducive environment for their integration into the society. So these childcare institutions are more in the form of correctional homes in order to bring about a behavioral as well as attitudinal change in the mindset of the juveniles who have been in conflict with the law. So here, from the prelims perspective, you are required to understand as to whom does the law cater to, as well as the purpose of this particular act. Further, this particular act has set up two institutional mechanisms in order to implement the provisions of Juvenile Justice Act. The first institutional mechanism is in the form of Juvenile Justice Board, which is to be set up by the concerned state in each and every district. Now this particular board has been given the authority to adjudicate on various cases related to juveniles under the age of 18. The second institutional mechanism is in the form of Child Welfare Committee. Now the role of this committee, as the name suggests, is to ensure the welfare of the juveniles who are in conflict with the law. Now these are the basic things which you would be required to know from the perspective of Juvenile Justice Act. And as we have seen that UPSC normally asks questions with respect to the laws which have been in the news. It is in this particular context the Juvenile Justice Act becomes extremely important from the exam's perspective. Now coming to the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. Now the first thing which you are required to know here is this particular commission is actually a statutory body, that is, it has been created under an act passed by the Parliament, and this has been created in the year 2005. The second important fact which you are required to understand from the perspective of prelims is this particular commission works under the administrative control of Ministry of Women and Child Development. And third, with respect to role of this commission, it ensures that all laws, policies, programs are in consonance with the child rights. Further, it also ensures that the laws, policies and programs are in consonance with the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. Thus, this commission acts more like an advisory body on all aspects related to the rights of the children. Hence here, from the exam perspective, from this particular article, you should be able to understand about Juvenile Justice Act as well as National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. Now coming to the next article. This article appears on page number 7. The title of the article is Kudumbashree Members Clean Kerala. Now the focus of this article is that this article highlights the crucial role played by self-help group known as Kudumbashree in disaster relief and rehabilitation. It is to be noted here that Kudumbashree is considered to be one of the foremost model for self-help group in India. It is often cited as one of the best practices in order to bring about political, social and economic empowerment of women. Now this topic shall be important mainly from GS paper 2 as well as paper 3. In GS paper 2, it shall be part of the development processes and development industry, wherein you need to understand about the role of self-help groups. In GS paper 3, it shall be part of disaster and disaster management. Now coming to the details of this particular article. This article basically highlights the role played by self-help group known as Kudumbashree in disaster management, wherein this article has highlighted about the various roles performed by this self-help group in the post-disaster relief and rehabilitation. It has stated that the members of this particular self-help group have been helping the stranded people by providing them with the food. it has also highlighted that the members of this particular group have acted as a crucial link between the people and the district administration, wherein these members have been passing on crucial information related to disaster. The members have also been giving psychological support to the affected people. And most importantly, this article has highlighted that the members have cleaned more than 1 lakh residential premises. And lastly, it has highlighted the crucial role of mass mobilization of the people for the disaster relief and rehabilitation. Now, in this particular context, you are required to understand as to what exactly is Kudumbashree scheme, the organizational structure of this particular scheme, of this particular model, and finally, as to what are the unique features of Kudumbashree that makes it so successful. Now, this is important because the unique features of this particular program can be in turn replicated in the schemes and programs implemented by the Government of India. Now, coming to details of Kudumbashree program. Now, this particular program is a program related to women empowerment and poverty eradication. This program is formulated by the Government of Kerala. This particular mission aims to eradicate absolute poverty within a definite time frame of 10 years under the leadership of local self-government formed and empowered by 73rd and 74th Amendment to the Constitution. So one of the unique feature of the Kudumbashree model is this model is integrated into local self-governance institutions. Further, here you are required to know that the Kerala is considered to be one of the foremost state when it comes to empowerment of Panchayati Raj institutions, since the state of Kerala has transferred all the 29 functional items under the 73rd Amendment Act to the Panchayati Raj institutions. Thus, this particular model seeks to bring about a synergy between the Kudumbashree model as well as local self-governance institutions. Now, this is considered to be a very effective strategy for empowerment of women in rural as well as urban areas, since it brings the women together from all spheres of life to fight for their rights or for their empowerment. Now, coming to the organizational structure of Kudumbashree. As you can see, the Kudumbashree model is working on a 3-tier structure, wherein at the bottom level we have neighborhood groups, at the middle level you have area development society, and at the topmost level we have community development society. Now, all these 3 levels of Kudumbashree are organically linked to each other in such a way that the neighborhood groups send their representatives to the area development society, and the area development society in turn send their representatives to the community development society, and this community development society in turn works in a very close coordination with the Panchayati Raj institutions. Now, such a unique organizational structure of Kudumbashree is one of the basic reasons for this particular model to be so successful. Further, United Nations Development Program has identified one among the 15 best practices in India. Further, this model has also got the award for excellence in public administration by the Prime Minister. Now let us look at the right approach which has been adopted by the Kudumbashree model, which has been the reason for its success. Now, this model has led to political empowerment of women in Kerala. The main reason for political empowerment is because this model has been integrated with the Panchayati Raj institutions as discussed before. Further, this model has enabled the women to play a leadership role at the various levels. This model has also led to economic empowerment of the women because it has focused on capacity building as well as training to the women self-help groups, wherein support has also been given by the banks as well as microfinance institutions. Finally, this model has also led to social empowerment of the women, since it caters to the poor as well as vulnerable sections mainly belonging to the BPL section. Further, this model has also brought about transformative changes in the sphere of health, education as well as sanitation. This is evident in terms of the social indicators of Kerala being among the best in India. Thus, from the exam perspective, you are required to understand three main things. That is, what exactly is Kudumbashree model, the organizational structure of the Kudumbashree, and lastly, the approach followed by the model. Now, having understood various facets of this particular model, let's move to the next article. Now, coming to the next article, this article appears on page number 1. The title of the article is India's most polluted 30% have no cleanup plan. Now, this article is in news because as part of National Clean Air Campaign, the government had identified 102 cities in order to mitigate the air pollution in India. However, out of 102 cities, only 73 cities have submitted their remedial action. Now, this particular topic shall be important from the perspective of GS paper 3 under the subsection of conservation and environmental pollution. Now, from the exam perspective, you are required to understand about National Clean Air Campaign as well as various initiatives taken by the government in order to control the air pollution in India. So let's discuss about National Clean Air Campaign. The National Clean Air Campaign started by the government aims to tackle the increasing air pollution in the country. Now, in order to tackle the air pollution in the country, this particular campaign seeks to evolve effective ambient air quality monitoring network across the country. Now, why this particular campaign is unique is because it focuses on a collaborative and participatory approach covering all the sources of pollution in India. Further, this particular campaign identifies that technology can play a very dominant role in prevention of air pollution. It is in this context, this particular campaign seeks to create a technology assessment cell. Now, this particular cell shall try to bring about advanced technology for prevention of air pollution. Now, let's look at the key components of this particular campaign. Now, under this particular campaign, all the cities in India are required to come out with their abatement action plan. That is, what steps they shall take in order to control the air pollution. Second, this particular campaign seeks to increase the number of air quality monitoring stations. The third component is the data dissemination related to the air quality. And finally, it seeks to set up air information center with respect to analysis of data related to the air pollution in India. Hence, as part of this National Clean Air Campaign, you need to understand that this particular campaign focuses on monitoring the quality of air, and to monitor the quality of air, it focuses on a collaborative and participatory approach. Further, this campaign recognizes the role which technology can play with respect to abatement of air pollution. Now, having understood about National Clean Air Campaign, let's move to the next initiative taken by the government to control the air pollution. The next initiative of the government to control the air pollution is National Air Quality Monitoring Program. As the name suggests, this particular program aims to monitor the air pollutants. Here, from the exam perspective, you are required to understand that this particular program aims at identifying four main pollutants, these being sulfur dioxide, oxides of nitrogen, suspended particulate matter, that is PM10, as well as fine particulate matter, that is PM2.5. Finally, this particular program aims to set up continuous ambient air quality monitoring stations across the country. Now, coming to the next initiative known as National Air Quality Index. Now, this particular index, which has been released by the government, is a tool for effective communication of air quality status to the people in terms which are easy to be understood by the common man. Now, this particular index transforms complex air quality data of various pollutants into a single number, nomenclature as well as color. So, looking at the index value, the nomenclature and the color, the common man would be able to gauge the extent of air pollution in a particular city. From the exam perspective, here you need to understand as to which all pollutants are covered under the National Air Quality Index. Now these pollutants are PM10, PM2.5, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, ozone, ammonia as well as lead. So totally the National Air Quality Index covers 8 pollutants. Now let us look at one of the question asked from this particular topic in the prelims 2016. The question was, in the cities of our country, which among the following atmospheric gases are normally considered in calculating the value of air quality index? So as discussed, the National Air Quality Index totally covers 8 pollutants. However, one important aspect of air quality index is that it does not cover carbon dioxide. So looking at the option here, A, C and D can be eliminated, and hence the answer happens to be B. As seen, a question has already been asked on National Air Quality Index in the prelims 2016. It is in this particular context you are required to understand about National Clean Air Campaign and National Air Quality Monitoring Program, which we have discussed in this particular video. With this, we have come to the end of today's discussion. Now let's look at the question for the day.